let me show you another diagram that would help you understand the entire Node.js structure and the working of Node.js, you can say. So in the real-time application, we do have the browser or any client. It may be a mobile, it may be a Postman, it may be any client with which we request the server for a specific resource. So whenever we send the request to the NestJS application, or the server which hosts the NestJS application, what happens is this is the module actually which wraps or encapsulates the other part of the NestJS application. So let's talk about them. The request is received by the controller, which is again another class inside the NestJS. So the responsibility of the controller class is obviously to entertain to receive the request and then obviously to prepare the response and send the response back to the client. So this handles the request and response to or from the client. And then if that request requires data or needs to perform some business logic or needs to perform any of the processing, controller class is not supposed to do that. That processing or that business logic is supposed to be performed by the service. Once again, what's the service? Service is another TypeScript class that will contain different methods, and each method would perform some specific business logic. And that business logic or processing, the result of that business logic is sent back to the controller, and controller actually wraps that result into the response and then sends back to the client. And now let's see, while performing any business logic, service needs some data. For example, client needs some data from the database. So it actually makes a request to the controller. Controller makes a request to the service. And once the service feels that it needs the data, it actually talks to the database, which is underlined. It may be a MongoDB, it may be a MySQL, it may be any database, obviously. And in order to let our server talk to the database, we need some sort of intermediary component, which can be the ORM or ODM, which helps us actually abstract the raw queries that we use to interact with the database. So it gives us lots of built-in functions, either ODM, like we can use Prisma or Mongoose or any other ORM or ODM that helps us avoid actually writing those raw queries in order to interact with the database. So once that service actually interacts with the database through the ODM or ORM, it grabs the data, then this service returns the data to the controller if there is anything that needs to be performed, and that while preparing the response, controller that does their job, and then actually it gives the response to the user. So now the module actually encapsulates the other stuff like controller, services, and there may be other components as well, like there may be helper functions or so many other things inside the module. So this is the very abstract level diagram. I know there may be so many other stuff that can be performed right in here, like we can have the pipes, we can have the middlewares, we can have guards, and we can have so many other stuff, interceptors that can be injected right within the request response lifecycle. But I'll obviously get into the details once I'll move ahead. So make sure to have this a bird eye view of the entire NestJS application in your mind. And I'll be talking about each and every component in much more detail once I'll be getting back to the code section. So if I now talk about this concept, we do have the app module. That's the primary thing which can encapsulate the other stuff like controller and app service. So this is the app module class, which is annotated with the decorative module. So module basically, this class decorator actually contains the metadata, some other any information that it needs, either the controllers or the provider may be a service or a helper function, that is going to be specified right in here. So it actually adds the additional functionality or adds the metadata to the app module class. So right from this app module class, we have specified two things, app controller and app service. So now you might be better in a position to understand the structure of the sequence. So any request that is coming in, that will go to the controller through this app module. So if we open up the controller, that is the default built-in controller. I'll be talking about each and everything, but just understand the diagram using this particular code flow. So when we open up the controller, it's another simple class. I'll be talking about these annotations later on, but it's just a class which can have a method. Right now there is only one method, which is getHello, and right from within this class we do have the constructor where we injected that you can say app service. It's the dependency injection. I'll also be talking about this in upcoming lectures, but think of it like through this object, which is app service. That app service is the object of the another class, which is the service class. In that case, it is app.service.ts, and if we come back, this is the service. And inside that service, again, the service is just another class, And inside the service, we can have only one simple get hello method, which by default now returns a string. But technically in the real production apps, we'll be sending requests to the database, as we have seen in the diagram. We'll be fetching the data from the database, and then we'll be returning the data right from inside this service, and that data is going to be returned to the function from where it is getting called, and this function is getting called from here. And once we get the data from get hello function that is inside the service, this get hello function is now returning this entire data, and that data is actually going to be served to the browser, which in this case we can see right in here. So this is the overview, an abstract level overview of how the different components, the different classes inside the NestJS work together in order to help us actually handle the request by the client and give the response to the client. We'll keep on adding the new modules. In the next lecture, I'll be creating a new module with the controller and with the service along with that, and then I'll be registering that module into the app module. So any module that we will be building in the entire NestJS application, that module needs to be registered right inside here in the app module, because this is the base module from where everything actually gets started. So I hope and I believe that this entire abstract level architecture is easy for you to understand.